Do you want to do it?
Yeah, I'm going live right now.
Okay. I don't see the button yet. Oh, I'm good.
Great. Mine is taking just a hot second, but it's going to get there. Hi, everyone.
Cleat fell off of my shoe in the middle of a ride.
What happened? Did you fall
I
off
was
the
just
bike?
going and I started to hear clicking and just the one screw fell out.
Oh my gosh.
So,
did it strip the screw thing?
I sure hope not.
Well,
this company will be hearing from me if it did. I don't want to say any names, but.
Well, today it's just the two of us, so we can talk about anything we like. We were just saying how weird it felt that Lexi's not here with us. So, but we are Lexi has a ton of business, which is great. So we are happy for Lexi. She is getting a bunch of listings up today. So it's just McCall and I. And we are the Realtor Cousins. So if anyone here is new, we're all in different markets. Lexi's usually with us and she's in Tri-Cities, Washington, and McCall is in Jacksonville, Florida. And we get together every week to discuss different real estate topics, and also interview really interesting people in the real estate field. So today it's just us and we're just chatting through what the world is calling the Great Reshuffling. So we'll get into that a little bit deeper in just a second. But please shoot us any questions that you have, whether it's related to the Great Reshuffling or anything real estate related. This is your opportunity to chime in, ask any questions that you may have, and we are happy to answer them live or get back to you in the comments. So here we are. McCall, you want to get us started on what the Great Reshuffling is?
Yes, I do. But first, I want to start with something that has been in the headlines. So Catherine and I have not talked about this yet. I'm throwing it on her on a whim because
I'm like Googling.
also for the record, we said that Lexi has so much business right now. That's not to say we don't. I'm just saying. Okay, so the headlines that I did see last month, so the end of March, did you know there are more realtors in the country than listings for sale?
That is
Isn't that crazy? So what does this mean to you? What does this mean to me? To me, it means when people see a hot market, they see an easy seller's market. Many people get their license. Many people may have lost a job in hospitality, tourism. Those skills lend themselves beautifully to real estate. I'm a believer in that. However, when people do see a seller's hot market, they think, oh, I just need to sell a couple houses a year. My point to that is this is not the time to go with an agent who just sells a couple houses a year. This is the time to have educated, confident negotiators because you are going to be getting many offers. You're going to have someone approach you before you go live. You are going to have people try to beat the system. And if you don't have a realtor who has your back, then that could leave some money on the table. What do you think of when you hear there's more realtors than homes for sale in the US? What does that mean to you?
I think it makes a lot of sense. I think that there are a lot of people out there that go and get their real estate license thinking that this is going to be really quick, really easy money. And then there's a lot of people that end up not being as successful as they wanted to be in real estate, and they kind of take a step back. So although there's all of these people with their licenses, I don't necessarily think that all of them are active right now. But also in terms of and we'll get into this a little bit further with the Great Reshuffling, but there's very low inventory right now. And we know that, that's across the entire country, but there are specific markets that are actually starting to open up a little bit because there are people flooding out of those bigger cities. So if there ever was, the big opportunity to move to LA, if that's where you've always wanted to go, then this might be a good time to go, actually.
I completely agree. I just pulled up the statistics real quick, and Tom Ferry said that 87% of realtors fail. So us having so many realtors and low inventory. So the fact that there's more realtors than inventory is, a little skewed because the inventory is so low right now. But I heard somewhere that in Chinese or Japanese, crisis means opportunity. So your point of saying other cities are opening up, this crisis has opportunity for people to move, for agents to start a new business and things like that. So transitioning into talking about the Great Reshuffling from the crisis, let's dive into what the Great Reshuffling is and what the heck that even means and what it means for real estate. So Zillow reported that 11% of Americans made a move in 2020.
So crazy.
So crazy. Over 1 in 10. I mean, that is nuts. If you think of 10 of your friends, did one buy a house or sell a house? Yes, absolutely. In my world, of course.
Yeah.
So what does this mean to us?
Well, and I mean, really, it makes a whole lot of sense. I think now more than ever, I have clients saying, I'm looking for a better space because of everything that happened with COVID and having to stay home for so long, wanting to kind of create the oasis that they've always imagined, both indoor and outdoor, but then also creating office spaces for if they have a spouse, themselves, kids, if there's kids in the picture, everyone needs to have their own little nook. And so I think, the fact that everyone's deciding to move makes a whole lot of sense for that reason, but also extending this further to people that live far away from family. Can you imagine? Like, you and I have experienced that firsthand with all of our family living over on the West Coast. I can't say that it hasn't crossed my mind with just the idea of, I haven't seen my family since August.
Same.
And so,
us going there in August was for a special event and was, we weighed the pros and cons, and that's a whole nother story. But yes, we haven't seen anyone since August. We're on an island out here. So yeah, I completely agree. If you are working from home and you have kids, you don't have kids, you have whatever your situation is in that regard, being close to family, like, you can't put a price tag on that. So I think a lot of people are hitting the Sun Belt. So people are moving to get to the warmer weather. And family as well. Yeah,
no, definitely. I think it's interesting with Charlotte because we actually do fall on that Sun Belt. And we're one of the cities that people are moving to in great numbers. And it makes a whole lot of sense because if you think about somebody living up in New England and, spending a certain amount of money each month on their mortgage, and then looking at a house here in Charlotte, I don't want to throw out any random numbers here, but, imagine that being like half and having twice as big of a house,
Absolutely.
It becomes a much easier decision when you're closer to family, you're in warmer weather, you have more bang for your buck, and so we are seeing that a lot here in Charlotte. I'm sure that you're seeing it in Florida too.
Yes, absolutely. Probably half of our clients right now are from out of state, and it's for that exact reason. Someone that comes to mind today as an example, she is a single parent. She was living and working in Atlanta. Their office, big name office, nationwide company, decided to work remotely indefinitely. So she and her mother, who's the grandma of the kids, they moved down here, and they're at the beach. She's working just as hard. They're at the beach. Their quality of life is just completely different. So that leads into our next point, which actually has numbers to back it up. So after their most recent move, more than half of Americans said that they experienced happiness, which is 54%, and relief, 53%. And 80% of recent movers in the last 12 months said it was well worth it. We are seeing news headlines that some people have moved during COVID and they're asking themselves, what the heck did I do? We are seeing people who kind of made an impulse decision. The emotions were running high during the full formal lockdown. So some people, I'm sure, just packed up the van and moved overnight. And I'm sure certain people are saying, what the heck did I do? However, statistically, over half say they experienced happiness, relief, and it was worth it. So the numbers don't lie. I mean, some people are moving for other circumstances. You have the normal divorce, death, financial issues. You have that on top of COVID. Mm-hmm. So of course, there's going to be people who it wasn't a positive experience.
Well, right. And adding on to that, with 3 out of 5 saying that they moved for a positive experience, it's like you already go into something knowing that you're doing the right thing for you. And if you have a family, your family, and so I think that that's part of, the reflection in numbers. It's a lot of times it's not just a random move or just a, out of the blue thing. It's like, well, I really want to be closer to my parents, or I really want to, be closer to my siblings. I think about Lexi, and it's like we talk almost every single day on the phone, and yet I haven't seen her in a year, and it's like, what?
Same with us, and same with me and a couple other cousins. Actually, it's like I miss hanging out with you guys and just going out for dinner and popping down and knocking on the door and surprising each other. But I don't know how to say this in the best way, but I think the best thing that happened from COVID is realizing what life is all about, right? So many people are living in a place because of their job, which funds their perfect life. So everyone's goal on their deathbed is to say that I lived my perfect life for me, whether that is working all the time or traveling or being with family. So money is required, let's be honest. And, the job is part of that. So I think the best thing that happened from COVID is people readjusting priorities, understanding that, yes, I can move. Maybe my company is giving me a bit of a pay decrease because cost of living, we've heard all of that. But in the same breath, having a better quality of life, being by the beach, being in better weather, not having to shovel snow, all of that. So I personally think a lot more people are saying, life is short. We only get one shot. Loved ones are getting sick. Like it happened. It happened fast. So.
Yeah, no, definitely. And it's also interesting. I would love to get someone on here who is a realtor that specializes in commercial sales. You and I can speak to it, but I really want to bring someone on here that's in the thick of it, just because I think that that's also a really interesting angle to see what's happening in the cities where a lot of these companies are deciding to go fully remote or, continue the next year being remote. Like, are they going to up their leases? Are they going to back out? What does that look like for the downtown areas,
Absolutely. And when people think of, businesses going remote, they think of an office building being empty. But using Amazon as an example, there are many, many, many businesses that thrive off of Amazon being in person downtown. Restaurants, car services, the list goes on. But no one thinks about the little mom and pop, bakery down the street that 100 people go through every morning. And they're there because of Amazon. They wouldn't have chosen that location if they knew that people were working from home. So it just trickles down and down and down. So
definitely. I think that's a really good lead in to where people are leaving and where people are going. Do you want to share that stat?
Do you want to do leaving or do you want to do coming? All right.
I'll do leaving.
Okay, go for it.
Okay, so there is an overwhelming number of people that are moving away from San Francisco, LA, and Chicago. Was there one more?
San Diego, I believe.
And San Diego. So there you have 4 huge areas where it makes total sense. Like you think about the number of startups and huge organizations that are based in those cities and everyone going remote and having the ability to go move wherever they want, you know? So where are they moving to?
Just to keep on there for a second, just thinking about San Francisco, I think of the tech hub, I think of Silicon Valley, and you hear these horror stories of, oh, I can barely get a split level that would fall down if I sneezed for over $1 million.
Right.
Like maybe, who knows what would have happened if people weren't moving out of there and going remote. I mean, how high can the prices get? How tight can it get? I mean, people are leaving college and these tech degrees with higher salaries than ever, and they can afford it. But it's like for the city and the average person, I mean, how high can it get? So San Francisco, LA, Chicago, San Diego, people are leaving. People are coming to Charlotte, Miami, Austin, Phoenix, and Sarasota. All in the Sun Belt. I guess.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes a whole lot of sense. But I also wonder too if there are going to be fluctuating salaries based off of remote location. Because
I have definitely heard that. I don't know how fair it is, but
yeah.
I'm not an expert on that matter personally.
No. But I don't know. It should probably balance out over time. Who knows? But it's such an interesting time. It's such an exciting time. And in the description, I said, we're here for it. And really, like, it is a really exciting time for us to be in real estate because we are able to help clients through that transition. And there's nothing that's more exciting than working with a client that's just moving to Charlotte, or I'm sure for you, just moving to Jacksonville because it's brand new. There's so much to share. I think that there's so many really interesting places, both in Jacksonville and in Charlotte. And they're also, the neighborhoods are so unique, you know, so helping to put people in the right places, I think is so exciting because that transition time is not always super easy, you know, even if they are moving for something that's super positive and exciting, like the idea of moving from New York City to Charlotte, like you're leaving behind your favorite bakery and your favorite pizza shop, you know, like there's a lot of transition that happens, you know, the kids are switching schools and, you know, you're having to figure out a new job or whatever it is. And so I guess for me, it's really exciting because I love the idea of helping people through that, you know?
Well, to piggyback off that, the Great Reshuffling is helping these communities grow and flourish. Jacksonville was just a blip on the radar a decade ago. You know, the downtown hasn't been revitalized like all the other big cities. But the huge amount of people coming here is just building and bringing those people from New York. Like, I'm going to open a bagel shop in Jacksonville because I'm also sick of the city. However, people want that, you know, unique food, drink, art, music scene in these smaller cities that were once forgotten. I mean,
yeah,
Jacksonville has so much potential, and there's so many rivers and the beach, and there's just so much potential here, and having such an influx, I think, is nothing but positive for the revitalization. Of course, there's downfalls, but we got a comment on YouTube. Mr. Salazar said, great topic. We're getting almost nonstop inquiries if we're interested in moving and selling. We live in Costa Mesa, California, where the inventory is almost zero. So, wow. I mean, realtors are out there making calls, trying to find deals. We need more homes to sell. We have a handful of buyers. We have a list of buyers. who their lease is ending in a couple months and they have a desired neighborhood. And so that explains the calls that you're getting. You must live in a great neighborhood that is highly desirable, but where is he going to go? Like, unless he does move out as part of the Great Migration, like, and totally switch up his lifestyle, with maybe he doesn't want to do. You buy in the market you sell it. And so if you're going to get 20 offers, you're going to be competing against 19 others on a different house. So
yeah, that is
complicated.
No, totally. And I think long before I was actually in real estate for my career, I thought, well, all of those people, and I was living in Seattle at the time. I thought, well, all those people that are sitting on like $2 million homes, why don't they just sell them, and then they'll have $2 million in their account. And it's like, well, but nobody wants to leave Seattle. Where would they go to, at that point, to try to upgrade from that house that they're in right now that's worth $2 million? They would have to downgrade.
Yeah,
like
buy an $800,000 house in Everett or something like
that. Yeah, exactly. So I think it's such an interesting time, but we have somebody that asked, how do you find a realtor in a city that you've never lived in?
Oh, that's a great question. Do you want to start or do you want me to?
You can start.
So that is a really good question. I love that. So if you have a trusted advisor in the town you're currently in, for example, if I had family and friends here in Jacksonville, I would really hope they came to me and asked, hey, I'm moving to Charlotte, or sorry, I'm not going to use you as an example because we're family, but hey, I'm moving to Hawaii. I need a realtor there. And I take full responsibility of interviewing, asking the right questions, narrowing it down based on personality and disc type. I mean, we get to the nitty gritty. I would never give you someone who, with my name on it, that I didn't trust. Mm-hmm. I'm staying in the loop with that Hawaii agent. I'm getting updates. I would completely be horrified if one of my friends or family just went to an open house in Hawaii and said, I booked with this agent. And like, that is terrifying to me. So I think the first step would be to ask a local person that you trust as your local realtor to do the legwork for you. Mm-hmm. I do that almost every day for people. I interview people and I take it very seriously. And I think another thing would be, of course, if you don't know anyone, of course, reviews are awesome. Just calling them. There's no shame in interviewing 5 people over the phone and saying, hey, I'm a second-time home buyer. I had a bad experience with my first one. This is what happened. And then you can really, you get to know someone. You can do a Zoom interview. I wouldn't say the person with the most deals is the best and the beginner is the worst. That's not necessarily true.
And in fact, I don't want to say that this is, an always situation, because that's not true. There are realtors out there that have been in the business for a zillion years that have so many sales under their belt, that are first to answer their phone, to respond to an email. They're excellent. But I would say that the majority is the reverse, right? Is that when you get someone that's a little bit newer to real estate, they are just like zoned in on you. You have their full attention. You have the attention of their entire team, because oftentimes they rely on their team too to help them through their first few transactions. And you get so much attention. And so I agree with you wholeheartedly. It's not always, who has been in the business for long enough. And so I completely agree with you with reaching out to someone locally and having them find the best realtor to sit down with in whatever area that you're looking for, because they'll do all of the legwork for you. Because just like you said, it's your name behind it as well. So you want to make sure that the transaction goes really well.
And to be completely transparent to that person who asked, if I'm interviewing agents and I give my friend Molly to the Hawaii agent, I do get a little bit of percentage of the commission. I'm going to be completely transparent.
Yeah.
But that means I have skin in the game. That means I'm going to be updated. I'm going to keep it in the loop. And we create a team cross country, virtually, I guess. I don't know, depending on like if she's doing stuff before she moves out to Hawaii. But yeah, we do have skin in the game. So that's something to ease your mind a little bit. It's not like we're just going to send you off to Cindy Lou Who and say, good luck.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think a lot of times people think, well, there's no way for me to, help your business because you're not in my market. And that's not the case at all.
Yeah. Good point.
And, that's not to say that there aren't ways for you to do that research yourself. But if you need help, like we are more than willing to help. And I think it's always an interesting situation, those people that just jump on the phone with someone on Zillow, because you never know what you're going to get. Those realtors are paying for those leads, and you could be matched with a top realtor, and that's fantastic, like that's great. But you could also be matched with someone that's not as great, Yes. And so
I have a personal story to that. I have a family friend who was matched with a realtor on Zillow, and later they found out it was her first deal. And then they ended up feeling bad for her, and she was doing a horrible job, and they didn't want to cut ties with her. And they asked me, is she doing this right? Is she doing that right? And they were near Seattle, and I'm in Florida. So when I was in town, they said, is she doing this right? What should we be doing? I said, I will find you a real estate agent tomorrow, and I will break up with this girl who this is her first deal. You don't need to feel, do you want a lawyer representing you in court and you feel bad for them because you're their first case? I don't.
No, thank you.
No, thanks. So that's a really good point. Like some great agents are on these sites that you get matched with, of course. Some not so great agents. It all comes down to interviewing them. And if you get a weird feeling, you can break up with them. And if you need a referral, you'd be surprised on how many cities we all have really strong connections with. We do masterminds nationwide. We do learning, educational events nationwide. So I have connections in every city, not every city, but random podunk cities in the middle of nowhere, Oregon. Like we got you. So that's a really good question. I mean, most people don't think of that.
No, I think it's a great question too. And it's one that comes up more often than we even think,
Well, especially with the Great Reshuffling. I mean, you aren't just looking for a realtor down the street. You do need someone out of state. And maybe you've never even been to that state. Right.
And that's so interesting too, is how great is it knowing that you are getting off, the plane or out of the car or, whatever it is, to this new city, and you're only there for a week to find a house, and knowing that you're meeting up with a realtor that, someone else. Yeah.
That's a good point. And you don't start your search for the realtor that day. You are able to get into homes that day. You are ahead of the game. And especially in this market, in any market, time is of the essence. Of course, you're paying for a hotel when you don't have a house yet. So you don't want to be there for a week looking for an agent and a house. You want to be there for a weekend looking at a house.
Yep.
Let's talk real quick about hard numbers in Jacksonville versus Charlotte, and then we'll wrap it up.
I have to pull up my numbers.
I just find this so fascinating.
Okay. What's your starting stat?
So I don't think you have this stat, but I'm going to throw this out for the Florida people. So I don't think we can compare this one. However, in Jacksonville, Florida, in the Northeast Florida Association of Realtors area, so that's Duval, Clay, and a couple other counties, St. John's, I think, 60% decrease in inventory since last year.
Wow.
60.1 decrease. Okay, so what are some of your numbers that we can actually compare?
So the average sales price, and this is the whole entire Charlotte region is 370, just over 370.
Okay.
What's yours?
Ours, sorry, you said 370? Hold on one second.
Mhm.
Ours is 270.
Wow.
We actually haven't gone through this yet together, but that's interesting because we're not too far away. We have some similarities, many differences. Yours is more of a city feel with suburbs. Ours is very sprawling. So 274. Right. So Jacksonville is very much still affordable, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, and so is Charlotte. And if you look at where you and I both came from, the West Coast, looking at those numbers, it's let
me pull up Seattle real quick. What's your next one while I pull this up?
Let's see. The number of closed sales for Charlotte was about 4,700. And that's rounding.
4,700. Ours is 32. Okay. So we have a difference there as well. You had many 1,000 more. So what is that? 20% more? The average price in King County, which is Seattle, Bellevue, the list goes on. Guess.
800.
766.
Wow.
That's from realtor.com. That was just the first thing, that came up. So realtor.com reported 766. So that is 3 times Jacksonville.
So crazy.
Yes. That's a whole nother episode of how nuts the Seattle real estate market is. Okay. How many days on market do you have?
I don't have that stat handy. What's yours?
Last year was 70 and this year's 49.
Jeez.
So comparing year over year, that's nuts.
I think actually we pulled those stats a couple months ago, and you and I, for a different episode, and I think that it was similar in the sense that it definitely went down a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Any other numbers stick out to you on your stats list?
I have a 1-year change of 17.7%.
Increase in price?
Yes.
Wow. Do you have, I have 12 for that. Okay. So you're 17, I'm 12. Okay. And then tell me, do you have, percent over list price sold?
I don't have that one up right now.
I have that 28% of homes sold over list price.
Wow.
So that's for everyone watching, a home gets listed at a price and sold at a price. So if it's listed too high, someone negotiates low. If it's listed decent, it gets bid up sometimes. So list to sold ratio tells you how competitive the market is. Certain homes that are unique, it's a, well-known builder or architect, those are always going over. There's anomalies, of course, but 28% of Jacksonville's homes sold over list price.
So crazy. And that's, pretty nationwide right now. I haven't heard agents in any other city that haven't been talking about the multiple offer situations. And I think it's a really interesting conversation to have up front. And so it's always the first thing that I sit down and talk to seriously about my clients that are looking to buy, so that we're all kind of on the same page. I'm fine with a client that doesn't want to go guns blazing with a super high over asking number, but they have to understand that the chances of them getting that offer accepted with multiple offers on the table is very low, so there's other ways that we can play up the offer a little bit and things that we can do to make us stand out. But in this market, you need to be looking to, put the best offer forward. And oftentimes that does come down to price. And I think that that's pretty standard across all of the different markets right now. So if you are looking to buy right now, I think that's a conversation that we need to have now, and talk about budget, like what's even possible within your budget. And let's talk with the lender as well, too, to kind of see, what do the monthly payments look like and what's the difference, because the cost of borrowing money right now is so low that it might actually be lower than you think to buy a house that's a little bit over what your initial budget that you had in mind was. So I think that it's obviously different for every single person. And so that's why it makes a whole lot of sense to schedule a meeting. But yeah, I think, right now, things are super competitive across the entire country. And you and I relate on that aspect quite a bit.
Yeah. Yesterday I was actually at a new construction community a little bit out of town. I had never been to this area since I've been here two and a half years, but there's this new area that we went up and toured some models, and they have move-in ready. You can close in 2 weeks. You can be in the home in 2 weeks. They have homes ready to move. So I think it's all about strategy and options, and maybe that area outside of town isn't your number one choice. However, you can get in for $10,000, have a great place to live, amazing amenities. Like they go above and beyond to make up for yet maybe it wasn't your first choice. And then in a couple of years, see what happens. So there's definitely options.
And I definitely think that new construction is a super creative way, especially for people that are moving in from out of town that don't have time to, on a whim, in a matter of 2 days before the house is sold, jump in the car, drive to the house, go look at it in person. Because you'll end up getting exactly what you were looking for, exactly what you want, without the competition.
Right. And people spent so much time in their previous home during COVID. They spent so much time at home. They know what they like. They know what they don't like. Like, build that oasis of your dreams. Like, make it happen. Maybe it's going to take a couple months longer, and you're in Chicago for a couple months longer, but there's definitely options.
Yeah, no, definitely. Well, we are. We
always say we're gonna do a quick one, and
I know.
Like, this was supposed to be 10 minutes. Part of the reason we started this was just for fun, because we always talk about this stuff. We talk on Zoom about this twice a week, and we're like, what are you seeing? What am I seeing? And so we just thought it'd be fun to put this out there and answer questions live. So every week, Thursdays, we haven't missed a Thursday yet. 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. 3 p.m. Pacific.
Yeah.
And next week, Catherine and I will actually be together. So that will be fun. And Lex will be back with us. So stay tuned. See you next week.